Since the hashtag #MeToo movement, men all around the country have been held accountable for their past indiscretions, no matter how long ago. It has also prompted a wave of prosecutions and public shaming. The movement now includes adult film star porn actress Tasha Reign. She's been going to college campuses to teach male college students about consent and when to just shut it down. Reign has focused mainly on the fraternities because the days of boys just being boys are totally over. But the question is, has this gone too far, making men and young male college students public enemy #1? Earlier, our Katilin Monte spoke to Tasha Reign.
I would say qualitatively at the end of our discussions, they have so much feedback and such a different vibe and understanding about consensual sex and the communication aspect about asking for permission before, during, and throughout the entire process than they did before I got there. And with the Me Too movement happening, I feel more empowered than ever, and I think all women across the board feel like they can come out and they can be candid and say, hey, this happened to me and it was wrong, and it's okay, I like to wear makeup and short skirts too.
Joining me now are college students Michael Anderson, John Douglas, and Ross White. So when you see this porn actress going to various college campuses, mostly in California, saying this is what you as more than likely 18 plus have to do when you're dealing with a female. Think it's a good idea, bad idea, what?
Well, of course it's a good idea. Consent's a very important thing, and today in the Me Too movement, it's been very important because I think it's really opened up a lot of eyes onto you have to be careful, you have to be responsible for yourself. It's the job of men to be responsible and make sure that they're not putting themselves and women in a situation that can end up very bad and that can be regretted. So it is good that she is going and talking to these fraternity pledges to make sure that they are doing the right thing and that they know their boundaries and that consent is one of the most important things so that you don't put yourself in that situation.
Michael Anderson, on the average, a male college student is at least 18 years old. Shouldn't they already know this stuff already, that no means no, and what consensual sex is?
You know, consent and communication is key, Isiah. But I think one of the things that people are overlooking is substance abuse when it comes to consent. And to college students, they're people that
drunk as hell.
Yeah,
drunk as hell when they're making out.
Absolutely. So I mean, you have to have like a in between. You have to know when someone is able to consent. And what I think is, I think we should get away from this hookup culture and get back to relationships, because when you have a relationship, you have that communication, you have that connection. And if you want to go out for a night of drinking and have a night of fun afterwards, then you most likely can do that with no problem.
Are we, as males, and young males as well, facing too much pressure in this hashtag #MeToo movement era? Or is it just simply accountability and payback?
I think in this day and age, with technology, especially social media, it's an ever-evolving environment. So I think there are pressures there all over the place. But as far as this goes, I think more to your point, yes, I don't think it's so much a revenge thing or anything like that, like you're saying. I think it's a communication issue, both for men and women, and you have to learn to open dialogue, know what we're doing, communicate, like they were saying here. Especially with the hookup culture, I think some people take that too far. And I think that's not necessarily a good thing for a number of reasons, this especially.
Now, when we talk about the time period that some people are going back, in one instance, like with Judge Brett Kavanaugh, they're going back 36 years. Should there be a time limit on how far back you can go into someone's past? High school, middle school, when? Your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely not. If you committed sexual assault, doesn't matter when it was, you should be held accountable for that. However, we have to make sure that we actually make sure they committed sexual assault, and we have to make sure that all allegations are verified. One of the problems with the Kavanaugh allegations is that there's no corroborating evidence. There is no time, location, place. All 4 witnesses say that Kavanaugh did not do it, and Dr. Ford named those witnesses. So we have to make sure that we're actually vetting it and make sure it's right and true. But however, when it comes to a time limit, there should never be a time limit. rape is rape, sexual assault is sexual assault. It's a crime, and just because you did it yesterday or 40 years ago, you still did it, and you should still be held accountable for it.
And in the last 20 seconds, Michael, are you more cautious now? Or you've always been cautious?
You know, I think I speak for many of the guys up here that, you know, we look for a relationship. We're not just looking to go out and to hook up and to have sex or to get some or to get laid. And I think that's part of the problem. You know, I think if we got back to relationships and we started thinking about, you know, who do we really want to be with, how do we make that connection and get the consent, because it's all about communication and consent, like I said, then you eliminate most of the problem right there.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me here on The Factor Uncensored.